Hello, nerds. Thank you very much for joining me one more time right here on Generally Nerdy. The show is your week in Nerdom, and we've got a full show. It's not a long show, but it is a full show. We have, honestly, a fair amount of music. We have a couple of notes in TV, streaming, and movies, almost all of which are coronavirus related, so more of the same. And then, honestly, a little bit everywhere. Comic books, gaming, all have stuff. And then the rumor mill is pretty full. So let's just get into the intro so we can get into the news. Okay, housekeeping. Assuming this keeps up at this rate and everything is kind of dying out, we very potentially could cut back to one episode a week, simply because it'll just be there's not a whole lot going on right now in the nerd industries, in the entertainment world. We just don't have a lot going on because everyone is quarantining. By and large, we'll get into some of that news. Everyone is quarantining, everyone is being postponed or pushed back or canceled outright. So until those things start happening again, it's gonna be rough trying to get news for things that aren't happening. And we're not gonna talk about coronavirus directly because that's not the kind of news show we run. So if we just keep getting postponements and cancellations and then not much else, then I very likely will cut back to just one episode a week so that we can at least keep tabs on things until everything starts back up. That being said, let's get into the news. First off, we are talking about music, and this one's kind of corona adjacent, so it's not directly coronavirus related necessarily. We have word that Vin Diesel, because Fast and Furious 9 has been pushed back until April of next year, and all of his other franchises are kind of stuck in pre-production at some point because he's not part of it, or we're dealing with the fallout of the Bloodshot box office, if you can even call it that. And just, he's kind of been in limbo for a lot of things, and so he made the announcement while he was on James Corden, Late Night with James Corden, that he's working on a music album. Didn't really specify a genre, though there were references to picking up a microphone, so I can only imagine he's gonna try his hand at some rhyme skills, maybe? That is going to be enough of a dumpster fire to motivate some record sales, I think. I don't know where to go from that, so we're just going to move on. Next, we're talking about Donald Glover, aka Childish Bambino, kind of. He has said in the past that he's done, if I'm remembering correctly, he has said that he's done with the Childish Gambino moniker. And then now we got word that he's put out a new record. Well, kind of. So, a record with his name on it, it said Donald Glover Presents, otherwise it was Untitled, was released just a couple days ago. That record then, about 12 hours after it was posted from, and then linked to, from people who were related to Glover, like they have business dealings with Donald Glover, then about 12 hours after it was posted, it got taken down. So I don't know exactly what's going on, and not much is known exactly of what's going on, aside from the fact that maybe now everyone's saying, well, is this the final Childish Gambino record? Which leads me to believe maybe I missed an announcement somewhere that said he was working on a final record under the Childish Gambino name, and then was just going to completely leave music. I don't know. But it's interesting music. It's some of the stuff that we got. We got the one single, the summertime single last year that he then toured with for the support of his previous album, but that song was not on his previous album, so there's definite signs that this is legit. Maybe this was leaked and people just didn't realize. I don't know. The other interesting bit about this is the features that he had on here. He had Ariana Grande on one song, then he had 21 Savage and SZA on another song. So he's still got some pull with some big names in the music industry. It's interesting to see how he's dealing with that. That being said, if the official record does get released, we will talk about it. Maybe do some reactions and or breakdowns and analyses of the music. That's all we've got there. So we're moving on to our last piece in music. And this one is actually heavy music related, which is usually what we talk about here, though I do love some Childish Gambino. So this one has to do with Phil Demmel. If you don't know that name, I don't necessarily blame you. He's not exactly a huge name in music. He is, though, part of a huge name in music, or at least was. He used to be the guitar player for... or at least he was. He used to be the guitar player for Machine Head. And, you know, the whole craziness with Rob Flynn and everything that went down there, he's no longer part of Machine Head. So he's been working on a side project under the name of Echoes of Reckoning. It sounds like a pretty stereotypical metalhead kind of name for things, so I mean, that's probably what we can expect. Also, because, you know, Machine Head, probably just going to be another metal record. Though there were some interesting, again, guests that he's been pulling in that he was talking about. Not the least of which being his wife. Apparently, he is married to Marta from Bleeding Through, which is one of my favorite metalcore bands ever, honestly. Like, easily top 5 metalcore bands. I don't know about albums. The This Is Love, This Is Murderous is a great record. Anyway, so he's working with his wife, Marta, and has, again, some really crazy... Once the record gets finished, because he did say that he is working on finalizing the record. So once that gets finished and released, we will definitely be talking about that. That's all we've got for music, though, guys. Now, let's talk TV streaming, and we only have one piece, and honestly, this was like 11th hour kind of stuff. The only piece we have was a tease from the writer of Death Note 2. He took to Twitter, Greg Russo, took to Twitter. So, you know, I'm fairly certain it's the same Greg Russo that's bringing us Mortal Kombat. Anyway, took to Twitter and said that he's shaking things up and that the script for Death Note 2 is still in the works with the folks at Netflix. Let's hope that this ship can get the course corrected. I feel like it should be fairly easy in a sequel. The original movie did well enough that it makes sense that Netflix would be doing a sequel. They already announced it literally like days after the movie went live on their streaming service. So, yeah, it totally makes sense that they would be doing this. But that's what we've got there. Now we're moving into movies, and we have really a lot of Corona-related stuff in movies. First off, we have Matrix 4, The Batman, and Black Widow have all finally been postponed, pushed back, you know, adding to the list effectively. So, Matrix 4 and The Batman are significant because they were, up until just a couple of days ago, they were both continuing production in spite of everyone else around them shutting down. So it looked like they weren't going to be shutting down, and then literally, I believe The Matrix was officially... production was postponed officially 2 days ago, and The Batman was yesterday, if I'm remembering this correctly. So that's interesting. And then this morning is when Black Widow's release was canceled. Not postponed, straight canceled until further notice. So, which leads one to believe, oh, you mean postponed. So, Black Widow likely will be released into theaters in the not-so-distant future. Just gonna probably likely push this back a couple of weeks. Matrix 4 and Batman, as soon as they have the alright go from the studio, that's probably when they're going to be shooting their movies. So, kind of to be expected, though I was kind of hoping that somebody was going to be a holdout. Next, we are talking about the Jared Leto story that is kind of everywhere, and I feel like is being slightly misrepresented. So Jared Leto, in case you haven't heard, Jared Leto just got back from a 12-day... from 12 days in the desert is the way everyone was painting it. If you pay attention to the things he's saying, and I am apologizing right now for the light. Apparently the sun is in the camera, so it's making things look a little weird. But anyway, if you pay attention to what Leto is saying when he says these things in public, he's not Jesus. He wasn't off in this meditative state for 12 days straight in the middle of the desert by himself. This did not happen. He was at a facility, probably in like Arizona or some rural part or middle of nowhere part of California, or even Nevada possibly, with his entourage at a facility where they had severed ties with the outside world. So effectively, they didn't have phones or ways to communicate outside of the facility in which he was. So probably somebody was filming him because he's Jared Leto and he's got an ego the size of the state of Texas. So that seems to reason, but he wasn't so isolated as to, like, I don't know. People are making it sound like he was by himself in the desert, in the elements for 12 days. And that's not what it was. But yeah, anyway, so he came back from this 12-day meditative trip and found out that the coronavirus was a thing, which is kind of funny. So he went and isolated himself for almost 2 weeks, comes back and goes, oh, everybody's isolating themselves because that's the safe thing to do. Thoughts and prayers, guys, but I'm going back to my isolation. He not going back to his facility. He's going to hole himself up into his house in the Hollywood Hills somewhere. But yeah, so really funny regardless, just not quite as amazing and impressive as a lot of the media wanted it to sound. So that's that. And then next we're talking about a really interesting thing that is also coronavirus related, but in a good way, if you can say that. So with the release of movies being set back so dramatically in a lot of cases, and with everything going down the way it is, movie studios are having trouble making money. They're losing literally hundreds of thousands of dollars a day because of this. So, what can they do to circumvent this loss? Well, it seems that a few studios, and more are adding themselves to the list as the time goes by, but a few studios right now are saying, well, we're just going to forego the movie-going experience altogether and in favor of streaming. So, that being said, we have a couple of movies, very literal couple movies, that are going straight to VOD, straight to online video on demand, so that you can stream them. So the one specifically that comes to mind is the Trolls World Tour is not going to be released in theaters. It is going straight to video on demand. And then also we have the Harley Quinn has been pulled from theaters and it is also going to video on demand much earlier than originally anticipated. Invisible Man, very specifically, we're talking a couple of Warner Brothers titles, and NBC Universal is the one doing the largest number of movies straight to video on demand. But then we also have Disney cutting the wait time for streaming down a little bit as well, in that they're doing Frozen 2 and The Rise of Skywalker are both going to video on demand much earlier than anticipated as well. Birds of Prey specifically will be available to stream on the 24th of this month. Now, I say these things with a caveat because they are still trying to make money off of these titles. So it's not going to be going up on Disney Plus like Frozen and The Rise of Skywalker. Not going to be going straight up onto Disney Plus and is part of the package that you get. These titles, a lot of these titles, I can't say specifically which because that has not been made clear, but most of these titles will be going on a video on demand service for a fee. The average fee the average dollar amount suggested has been $19.99 for a 48-hour, that's 2 days, rental. So it is a good thing in that you can still watch these movies that you are planning on going to see, though it does come at a price. Arguably a lower price, because $20 out of my pocket is a lot easier to pay than $30, and then on top of it you got to get concessions and the gas to go there. So this honestly could be a change in the way we see movies in the future, because all of this is happening the way it is. This honestly could change the theater going experience forever. So it'll be really interesting to see how this happens and how it unfolds, and then how after the coronavirus scare is over, once we're through this, what happens to releases and so on and so forth from there. If it's a more viable dollar amount than they're anticipating, I would venture a guess to say that we see much less stuff going into theaters. That's just me, though. That's all we've got there. Now let's move over to gaming, and we're just going to go over the releases, because you can download, I believe, all 3 of these digitally. But coming out this week, so by the next video that we do, the next episode that we do, we will have Doom Eternal, Doom 64, Animal Crossing New Horizons. All will have been released. So these are all games that you can play at home while you are quarantined inside of your house. So keep that in mind. And I'm going to try and get some of them myself. I still have to work, so I don't know if we'll be able to talk about these necessarily. I mean, and also Spawn did just come out, and Mortal Kombat 11 servers have been down in my area, which is driving me insane, because I have yet to play Spawn, even though I could download him for whatever reason. I don't know. Anyway, so now we're moving over to comic books and books, and in comic books we have a couple of things. One of them not at all related to coronavirus is Willow. So Buffy's witch lesbian friend Willow has it's been announced from Boom Studios that she is getting her very own spin-off. The writer for the book is Mariko Tamaki, I apologize. And then the artist is going to be Natasha Bustos. I'm not familiar necessarily with either of their works. I did look them up. Mariko has something to do with some Harley Quinn books, and honestly, I can't remember Natasha's credits at all. But they are somewhat seasoned in this genre, so I'm interested to see, because Willow was always one of my favorite characters. The book will be a 5-issue mini-series, again, from Boom Studios, and I did not catch the date. If I do, I will put it right here on the screen before, and if you're just listening to this, then I'll try and put it in the notes if I can find it before I go to publish this. And then our other piece in comic books is a little more meta. It has to do with a comic book convention. The first convention, actually, to announce that it was postponing because of coronavirus is Emerald City Comic Con, and they have just announced when they are postponed until. So the new dates for Emerald City Comic Con are August 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. So if you had tickets, they are working with people who had tickets previously. If you need to return your tickets for whatever reason because you can't make those dates, or if you want to re-up your tickets for those dates, they are trying to work with everyone, so that's pretty cool. And then that's all we've got for comic books, actually. So now let's talk Rumor Mill. And the Rumor Mill is thankfully pretty hearty right now. I would imagine it would be beefier because everyone's quarantined, so there's no one that can really confirm things, but also no one's really doing things to be rumored about, so it is what it is. But we have our first piece is a potential leak from the Batman, and I'm going to be fairly vague so as to try and avoid spoilers, and also I feel like if I say the thing out loud it might actually come to fruition, because I don't want this to happen. So we have a rumor that was leaked on Twitter and then carried onto Reddit, saying that the production for the Matt Reeves Batman movie is going to be actually quite comic book accurate. Didn't say if that had anything to do with the fact that Batman was going to kill or not in this movie, though I would venture a guess to say that not is the right answer to that question. This rumor has to do with a death in the Batman movie, and it's a Tom King comic book that this death comes from. I'm not going to get any more specific than that, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, then more power to you, because you didn't read the Tom King run. If you did read the Tom King run that just ended, then you know exactly who I'm talking about. I don't think this is the kind of comic book accuracy that the comic book nerds are talking about when they say they want things to pay homage to the original source material. That being said, I can understand why they would write Jeffrey Wright out of the movie series, because he is kind of an in-demand actor these days, and so he probably was much too expensive to put in more than just the first movie. That's all we've got on that one, though, so let's move over next to Thor, Love and Thunder. So this one is, the next two, actually, this and the next two, are all very, 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 very much rumor. Not a whole lot to back these up. This is just very likely not actually going to happen. But it is buzz around the industry, so we're going to bring it up so that we can talk about it. First and foremost is, again, Thor, Love and Thunder. The rumor is Ryan Gosling is rumored to have a role in the movie. And then this rumor also continues to say that Christian Bale, who we know is going to be in the movie, has been confirmed Christian Bale is going to be in the movie. We just don't know what role. This rumor says that his role is going to be Minotaur, Lord of Roxxon, aka Dario Agar, whatever. I don't buy the Ryan Gosling thing, though the Minotaur is a role that Bale has been rumored to be playing in the past, when he was still rumored that he was going to be in this movie at all. So I'm still thinking more along the lines of Beta Ray Bill for Christian Bale, but that's just me. I have no reason for it. So we're moving on. Now, the next one is Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. Again, very little legs with this rumor as well. This one says that we're going to be seeing Cillian Murphy as Nightmare and Emma Watson as Clea in this movie. So Clea, if you don't know, is a character who is often romantically involved with Doctor Strange. I don't see, if Clea is in this movie, I don't see her being played by Watson unless it is a multiverse version of the character and in another universe which has its own version of Doctor Strange, who is also much younger, because that just seems fairly tone deaf with our current social climate, to have Benedict Cumberbatch, who is a fair amount older than Emma Watson, be the romantic interest of Emma Watson, unless they don't play the romantic angle at all, which again seems unlikely because of her comic book origins. So I really don't think this one has much legs. And the Cillian Murphy, I just don't see him in this movie at all. I don't know why. It just sounds wrong. That's all I got. And since this is such a loose rumor, that's all we've got to go on, right? So let's move to the next one. Again, this is no confirmation in any form for this, but this rumor says that we are going to be seeing Jason Momoa or Henry Cavill in the role of Kraven in Spider-Man 3. Also being rumored is that Jen Walters, aka the non-She-Hulk version of She-Hulk, is going to be in the movie as well. Though the rumor doesn't say who might be playing her. Though we already have a rumor saying that Alison Brie might be playing her for the Disney Plus series, so maybe Alison Brie's gonna be, I don't know. But the Jason Momoa or Henry Cavill playing Kraven the Hunter, while physically imposing enough that I feel like they could pull it off, I don't think that they're going to be fair game for Marvel just yet. I feel like they will put somebody else in the role of Kraven the Hunter, if he's even in this movie, because we know that they want to do a Kraven the Hunter movie in and of itself. Sony does, but this is going to be more of a Marvel tie-in thing than a Sony tie-in thing, so it just doesn't make sense that that's the direction they would go with the character or with either of those actors. So again, very, very, very unverified rumor. We're moving on. Our last piece of rumor is more gaming rumors, because I just cannot get enough of this crazy Konami business. So now the rumor has evolved. It's not that Sony is mediating between Kojima and Konami. Sony is trying to buy Kojima's properties from Konami. Not just Kojima's, though, also Castlevania, but they want Silent Hill, Castlevania, and Metal Gear, according to this rumor. They want to buy those properties from Konami because, again, Konami really isn't doing the video game thing anymore. I hope this one absolutely is for real, and I hope this one actually comes to fruition, because then we will actually see more games that are worth a crap to play in those three IPs. Because the last Metal Gear that came out was the only one that they've done without Kojima, and it was a steaming pile of garbage. But that is all we have for rumors, guys. And also, all we have for the episode. So what did I miss? What should we talk about in the next one? Let me know in the comments down below. If, though, you want to go deeper into the conversation, jump over to the website, generallynerdy.net, patreon.com/generallynerdy to support. Like, subscribe, share, all of the things. Click one of the boxes right here below my face to see other stuff going on the channel. And before we go, guys, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.